Are you ready to change the way you think about money and success? In the next few minutes, you'll discover how the wealthiest people approach life, make decisions, and build lasting freedom. This is more than just earning. It's about training your mind, creating habits, and thinking like a millionaire every single day. You'll learn practical strategies to replace excuses with action, turn problems into opportunities, control your emotions around money, and invest in yourself before chasing income. You'll see why building assets beats flashy spending, why surrounding yourself with growth thinkers accelerates success, and how visualization combined with consistent effort can create extraordinary results. By following these insights, you can transform your daily habits, sharpen your focus, and start building real wealth. Subscribe to Audiobook every day and stay with us for more actionable steps, motivation, and guidance that will help you grow, improve, and achieve the life you want. Number 1. Train your brain for abundance. Training the brain for abundance begins with a quiet but powerful shift in how one chooses to see the world. Most people live in a mindset of lack. They wake up thinking about what they don't have, what's missing, and what might go wrong. That habit of thought becomes their reality. The truth is, abundance is not something that appears after success. It's the mindset that creates it. Every wealthy and fulfilled person started by changing the way they think, long before their outer world changed. The way the mind is trained determines how far one can go. The goal is not to think positively for a moment, but to rewire the brain to expect growth, opportunity, and expansion every single day. A mind trained for abundance sees possibility where others see limitation. It looks at a problem and begins searching for the seed of advantage hidden inside it. It notices small blessings and multiplies gratitude. It does not allow fear to dominate decisions. To train this kind of mind, a person must first become aware of their inner conversation, the quiet words repeated throughout the day. Thoughts like, "I can't afford that," "I'm not lucky," or "things never work out for me," are signals that the brain has been programmed for scarcity. Reprogramming begins by catching those thoughts in real time and replacing them with stronger, empowering ones. When the brain hears, "I can create the money for that," it begins to search for ways to do exactly that. The words we use are not decoration, they are commands to the subconscious. The subconscious mind does not argue, it obeys. When told repeatedly that money is hard to make or that success is only for others, it records those messages as truth. The only way to break that pattern is through consistent, deliberate repetition of new thoughts that reflect abundance and possibility. This means creating mental discipline every morning before the world interferes. A quiet few minutes spent affirming abundance, imagining progress, and feeling gratitude can shift the entire day's energy. Over time, those repeated practices become internal wiring. The person begins to act and make choices aligned with confidence and self-worth, rather than fear and doubt. Abundance begins where comparison ends. Too many people drain their mental energy by measuring their progress against others. The moment the focus shifts outward to envy, the feeling of lack grows stronger. The person begins to believe that if someone else is winning, it must mean there is less left for them. That thought is false. The world does not operate on a fixed supply of success. Opportunity expands for those who create value. The millionaire's mind understands this truth deeply. Instead of competing in small spaces, it looks for new ways to serve, solve, and contribute. The focus moves from "what can I get" to "what can I build." That shift is what creates lasting wealth. Training the mind for abundance also requires emotional discipline. When life presents setbacks, the untrained mind reacts with panic, anger, or defeat. The trained mind, however, sees the same setback as feedback. It asks, "What lesson can I take from this?" Every disappointment becomes data. This emotional steadiness is not born overnight. It comes from constant awareness. One must practice catching emotional reactions before they spiral. The more control one gains over their thoughts, the stronger the foundation for wealth becomes. A person who can stay calm in uncertainty is more powerful than one who panics with every change. There is also a direct connection between gratitude and abundance. Gratitude trains the mind to notice what is working. When a person regularly acknowledges the good in their life, no matter how small, they naturally attract more of it. This is not mystical, it is psychological. The brain begins to filter the world for positives, opportunities, and connections instead of threats and fears. It becomes solution-oriented rather than problem-focused. Every night before sleep, writing down a few things done well or appreciated that day reinforces that mindset. Over weeks and months, that habit builds unshakable optimism, and optimism is the soil in which wealth grows. Many people misunderstand abundance as only financial. True abundance includes mental clarity, time, freedom, health, relationships, and peace of mind. A millionaire mindset values all of these equally. There is no point in chasing money while neglecting the self. A person filled with bitterness, stress, and fear is already living in poverty, no matter the size of their bank account. The abundant thinker seeks balance. They protect their mind from negativity, choose environments that nurture growth, and spend time with people who expand their perspective. Just as physical training requires good nutrition, mental training requires positive input. Reading, listening to empowering messages, and surrounding oneself with purpose-driven individuals feed the brain the right fuel. To train the brain for abundance, action is essential. Thinking without doing is only daydreaming. Every time a person takes action toward their goals, even a small one, the brain records progress and builds belief. For example, saving a small amount of money consistently rewires the mind to trust itself with responsibility. Starting a small project and finishing it builds evidence that growth is possible. Over time, these small wins create momentum. The brain begins to expect success instead of doubt it. Confidence becomes a habit. This is how abundance grows, from tiny repeated actions that reshape identity. Language plays a major role in this transformation. The words used daily form the mental environment. Speaking about money, opportunity, or goals with fear or sarcasm keeps the brain anchored in scarcity. Replacing those patterns with constructive language builds new associations. Saying, "I am finding new opportunities to grow my income," carries a different energy than "I'll never make enough." The first signals the brain to explore solutions. The second shuts it down. Over weeks of conscious practice, speech becomes aligned with intention, and intention drives results. Another key part of mental abundance is visualization. When the brain can see and feel a goal as real, it begins aligning behavior toward it. Visualization is not fantasy, it's mental rehearsal. Athletes use it to perform better. Entrepreneurs use it to prepare for success. Spending a few minutes every day vividly imagining the desired outcome, feeling the emotions of achievement, and seeing oneself taking confident steps builds neural pathways that make success natural. The mind does not distinguish vividly imagined experiences from real ones. It simply adjusts behavior to match the dominant image it holds. Fear is the main obstacle to abundance. Fear of failure, rejection, loss, or judgment keeps the mind trapped in comfort. The way to train beyond fear is not to wait for it to disappear, but to act despite it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's mastery over it. Each time one faces fear and still moves forward, the brain learns that discomfort is survivable. It becomes stronger and more resilient. Abundance cannot coexist with avoidance. it grows through boldness, even when the outcome is uncertain. Discipline becomes the bridge between vision and reality. Money itself is only one form of abundance. The deeper reward is freedom. The freedom to create, to give, to grow, and to live without mental limitation. To reach that state, a person must first master themselves. Training the brain for abundance is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about refusing to surrender to scarcity thinking. It's about knowing that external change follows internal order. Every millionaire started with a single decision to think differently. They built habits around focus, gratitude, discipline, and belief until those habits became character. Real-world practice makes these ideas come alive. Wake up and begin the day with 3 thoughts of gratitude. Replace one negative statement each day with an empowering one. Read something that stretches the mind beyond current limits. Take one small action toward a long-term goal, even if progress seems invisible. Reflect each night on one lesson learned and one thing done well. These small practices, repeated with consistency, turn ordinary minds into extraordinary ones. They form the unseen structure that wealth rests upon. Over time, the person who trains their brain for abundance begins to notice subtle shifts. Opportunities appear where there were none. People respond differently. Confidence becomes visible. The same world feels bigger because the mind has expanded to see more of it. Scarcity fades, replaced by a quiet certainty that growth is inevitable. Wealth then becomes not a chase, but a reflection, a mirror of inner strength, patience, and vision. When the brain learns to live in abundance, life itself responds in kind. It becomes a cycle of giving and receiving, learning and teaching, growing and creating. Each thought builds the next reality. Each day becomes a new opportunity to expand. The person who trains their brain for abundance does not wait for permission or luck. They create their own conditions for success. That is the mindset that separates those who wish for wealth from those who build it. Number 2. Replace excuses with daily action. Excuses are the invisible walls that keep people trapped in the same place year after year. They sound harmless, but they quietly drain strength and delay growth. Every time someone says, "I don't have time," "I'll start later," or "it's too hard," they are handing control of their life to hesitation. Excuses are the mind's defense mechanism against discomfort. They protect short-term comfort, but destroy long-term potential. Action, on the other hand, is the only language that life understands. It doesn't respond to intentions, wishes, or explanations. It responds to movement. Replacing excuses with daily action is the difference between people who dream of success and those who live it. The first truth about excuses is that they often sound reasonable. The brain is good at creating logic that supports inaction. It convinces people that waiting is safer than starting. It whispers that the timing isn't right, that more preparation is needed, or that others have it easier. But the longer one listens, the harder it becomes to move. Excuses may feel like protection, but they are prisons built from fear. The moment a person sees them for what they are, delays disguised as logic, they regain power. Progress begins the instant one stops negotiating with comfort and starts taking responsibility for effort. Action is not about perfection. It is about movement. The most successful people rarely begin fully ready. They begin while uncertain and learn along the way. Waiting for motivation or the right moment is an illusion. Motivation grows after movement, not before it. When a person starts even with small steps, energy builds naturally. Each completed action gives the brain proof that progress is possible. That evidence fuels the next step, creating a rhythm that no amount of thinking can replace. Every day that includes a single intentional action strengthens the habit of discipline. One of the strongest reasons people make excuses is fear of failure. They imagine embarrassment, criticism, or wasted effort. But failure is not the enemy. It is a teacher disguised as struggle. Every mistake reveals a lesson that can't be learned by standing still. The act of doing exposes weaknesses and builds resilience. Excuses prevent those lessons from ever arriving. A person who takes consistent action, even imperfectly, learns 10 times faster than someone who waits to start until everything feels secure. The difference between failure and progress is persistence. Action is the only path to mastery. Consistency transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Doing something daily, no matter how small, compounds over time. 10 minutes of focus every day outperforms a few hours of scattered effort once a month. The brain adapts to whatever it does repeatedly, and when daily action becomes a pattern, discipline becomes part of identity. Success is rarely a sudden breakthrough. It is the result of countless small actions performed when no one is watching. Excuses fade when consistency becomes habit, because action no longer depends on mood. It becomes automatic. Replacing excuses requires brutal honesty. It means facing the real reasons behind delay. Often, people say they don't have time when what they truly lack is focus. Everyone has 24 hours. The difference lies in how those hours are used. Distractions steal more potential than any lack of opportunity. The phone, television, and comfort of routine quietly consume the hours meant for building dreams. To break that cycle, one must learn to choose priorities deliberately. Listing the 3 most important tasks for the day and refusing to end the day without completing them builds accountability. Small promises kept to oneself develop self-trust, and self-trust fuels confidence. Action also demands a shift in self-talk. Excuses are powered by the language used in thought. Phrases like "I can't," "I'll try," or "maybe later" weaken determination. Replacing them with decisive language strengthens resolve. Saying "I will" or "I'm doing this now" sends a clear signal to the brain that delay is not an option. Over time, that tone becomes the new internal standard. The mind begins to associate identity with follow-through rather than avoidance. When identity changes, behavior follows naturally. Another powerful way to eliminate excuses is to simplify goals. Many people get stuck because they overcomplicate the process. They look at the entire mountain instead of the next step. The gap between where they are and where they want to be feels overwhelming, so they freeze. The key is to break every goal into actions, so small they feel impossible to refuse. Instead of saying "I'll start a business," start with "I'll research one idea today." Instead of saying "I'll get fit," begin with "I'll move my body for 15 minutes. Simplicity removes mental resistance. Once momentum begins, the process becomes easier than expected. Accountability accelerates progress. Having someone who expects results, whether a mentor, friend, or partner, eliminates the room for excuses. When others are aware of commitments, the pressure to act increases. Accountability can also come from writing goals publicly, tracking progress on paper, or setting measurable deadlines. The act of reporting effort keeps the mind alert and responsible. Excuses lose power when effort must be visible. Daily action is not always glamorous. There will be days of exhaustion, boredom, or doubt, but showing up anyway is what builds strength. The body doesn't grow stronger from comfort, it grows stronger from resistance. The same rule applies to the mind. Every time one chooses to act rather than avoid, mental muscles develop. Eventually, taking action becomes natural, while making excuses feels foreign. That transformation is what separates the disciplined from the average. The person who moves forward, even when uninspired, gains an unstoppable edge over those who wait for perfect motivation. Another layer of excuse-making comes from comparison. Seeing others ahead can trigger discouragement. The mind begins to say they had better chances or they're more talented. But action has a way of neutralizing comparison. When one is busy working on their own growth, there's no time to envy others. Every person's journey is different. The only valid comparison is between who one was yesterday and who one is becoming today. Measurable self-improvement through action builds quiet confidence that no external validation can replace. Replacing excuses also means learning to value progress over comfort. Comfort feels pleasant in the moment, but costs growth in the long run. Growth, on the other hand, demands discomfort, but rewards with strength. Every meaningful transformation requires periods of struggle. The millionaire mindset accepts that effort is non-negotiable. It does not chase easy paths, because easy paths produce average lives. Taking action every day, even when results seem distant, plants the seeds of success that will eventually bloom. The habit of action begins in small decisions. Waking up when the alarm rings instead of snoozing is an act of discipline. Choosing to read instead of scroll through distractions is another. Making that phone call, sending that message, practicing that skill, all these tiny steps shape the direction of a life. The person who chooses action repeatedly builds momentum that carries through every area. Action creates clarity. Excuses create confusion. The more one does, the more one learns what works and what doesn't. Waiting never reveals the next step. Doing does. Each day presents a test between movement and hesitation. The moment one notices an excuse forming, it's an opportunity to interrupt the pattern. Asking, "What is one small thing I can do right now?" replaces passivity with power. It might be reading a single page, making a list, or writing down an idea. The action itself is less important than the principle behind it, choosing forward motion over stillness. The more often this choice is made, the more natural it becomes to respond to challenges with action instead of avoidance. There is no perfect system, but there is a perfect truth. Nothing changes without action. Excuses can create comfort, but they can't create success. Each day that passes without effort reinforces stagnation. Each day with even a little progress builds confidence. Success does not arrive suddenly. It accumulates quietly through daily acts of discipline, persistence, and courage. A person who commits to acting daily, even when results are unseen, is already wealthier in mindset than those who only wish for change. Replacing excuses with daily action is not only about achieving goals, it's about becoming a person who honors their own word. It is about building the kind of self-respect that comes from keeping promises made to oneself. When that self-respect grows, external validation becomes unnecessary. Life begins to align with intention because every day is proof of integrity in motion. Excuses fade into the past, and the habit of doing becomes the foundation of freedom, confidence, and success. The one who acts daily holds the key to everything they once thought was out of reach. Number 3. Study money habits of winners. Money follows understanding, not luck. People who master wealth do not stumble upon it by chance. They study it, practice it, and shape their decisions through consistent awareness. Studying the money habits of winners is about learning the patterns behind financial growth and applying them until they become part of your own thinking. Every financially successful person has trained themselves to see money not as something to chase, but as something to manage, multiply, and protect. The difference between those who struggle and those who prosper often lies not in opportunity but in habits. Habits create systems, and systems build wealth. Winners think of money as a tool, not an identity. They don't attach their worth to how much they earn, but to how well they use what they have. They understand that money amplifies character. It rewards discipline and punishes carelessness. To study their habits, you must first adopt their mindset. Money must work for you, not the other way around. Most people work for money their entire lives, trading time for income. The wealthy reverse this equation by making money generate more money through smart decisions, ownership, and long-term planning. That shift begins with education and awareness. Winners study money constantly. They read books about finance, investing, and economics. They learn how systems operate, how businesses grow, and how value is created in the marketplace. They do not rely on schools to teach them financial literacy because they know traditional education rarely explains how to build wealth. Instead, they take responsibility for their own financial knowledge. They treat learning about money like a lifelong skill rather than a short-term goal. This curiosity builds confidence. The more one understands how money moves, the easier it becomes to make choices that attract and multiply it. Another defining habit among financially successful individuals is tracking every dollar. Winners know where their money goes. They pay attention to their spending patterns because awareness creates control. The average person avoids looking closely at their finances out of discomfort or fear. The wealthy treat numbers like a map. They reveal direction and progress. They budget not to restrict themselves, but to direct resources toward growth. They spend consciously, prioritizing investments, learning, and business expansion before luxury or status. That habit of discipline keeps their wealth stable even during uncertain times. Winners also practice delayed gratification. They understand that money grows through patience, not impulse. While many chase quick rewards, they focus on consistent progress and compounding results. They save and invest regularly, knowing that steady contribution builds power over time. When others spend to impress, they reinvest to expand. Their satisfaction comes not from instant pleasure, but from watching their efforts multiply. They view each dollar as a seed, something that can grow into future freedom if treated wisely. This mindset transforms ordinary earners into long-term wealth builders. Another habit of winners is strategic risk-taking. They do not fear loss, but they never gamble blindly. They research before acting, study patterns, and calculate potential outcomes. They take risks with preparation, not emotion. The average person avoids risk entirely and stays trapped in safety. The wealthy understand that every opportunity carries uncertainty, but growth requires courage. They learn to manage fear instead of obeying it. The ability to make informed decisions under uncertainty is one of the strongest financial skills a person can develop. Winners value time over money. They recognize that time is the one resource that cannot be replenished. Instead of wasting it on trivial distractions, they design their lives around efficiency. They delegate, automate, and create systems that free them to focus on higher value work. They invest early so money can compound while they sleep. They avoid unnecessary meetings, gossip, or empty entertainment that does not move them forward. Each day becomes a deliberate use of energy. When time is respected, wealth naturally increases because attention is directed toward creation rather than consumption. Studying their habits also reveals how intentionally they protect their mental environment. Winners guard their focus from negativity and scarcity thinking. They surround themselves with people who think bigger, act decisively, and share ideas about growth. Conversations about opportunity replace complaints. Collaboration replaces competition. They understand that who you spend time with shapes your expectations, and expectations shape results. If surrounded by people who fear money or misuse it, progress becomes nearly impossible. The wealthy build circles that encourage discipline, innovation, and ambition. Another powerful habit is the way winners handle failure. When they lose money or make a bad investment, they don't collapse emotionally. They study what went wrong and adapt. Every loss becomes an education they refuse to waste. They do not see failure as proof of inadequacy, but as part of the process of mastery. This mental toughness allows them to keep playing the long game while others quit. They understand that financial success is not built in a straight line. It's a process of testing, learning, and refining strategy. The ability to recover quickly is as valuable as the ability to earn. Winners also understand the importance of multiple income streams. They never rely on a single source. Salaries, businesses, investments, royalties, and digital assets each becomes part of a diversified portfolio. This diversification protects them from unexpected downturns. When one stream slows, others continue to flow. Building multiple sources takes time and creativity, but it begins with the mindset that dependence is dangerous. Winners focus on ownership and leverage rather than labor alone. They create systems that continue to produce even when they step away. Generosity is another overlooked trait of financially successful people. They know that giving strategically strengthens abundance, whether through mentorship, donations, or opportunities for others. They circulate value. This habit builds goodwill and networks that money alone cannot buy. They do not give to look good. They give because they understand that contribution expands capacity. A closed hand cannot receive more, and generosity keeps the flow of wealth alive. It also keeps ego in check, reminding them that true wealth includes the ability to uplift others. Winners are intentional with lifestyle choices. They enjoy their wealth, but do not let lifestyle inflation control them. They understand that appearances are not wealth. A luxury car or an expensive outfit means little if it sacrifices financial independence. They live well but strategically, choosing experiences and assets that enhance quality of life without creating unnecessary burden. They prioritize freedom over image. This restraint is often invisible to outsiders, but it is one of the main reasons their wealth lasts across decades. Studying money habits of winners also means observing their discipline in planning. They set financial goals with clarity and review them often. They measure progress monthly, adjusting strategy as needed. They know that vague goals create vague results. Their goals are specific: how much to earn, save, invest, and donate. They use data and reflection to stay aligned with their vision. This structured approach removes guesswork. It gives them control over outcomes rather than leaving finances to chance. Clarity turns desire into measurable action. Another defining characteristic is continuous self-improvement. The wealthy understand that personal growth drives financial growth. They invest in skills that increase value: communication, leadership, negotiation, decision-making. They read, attend seminars, and learn from mentors. They never assume they know everything, because the economy and world are always changing. Adapting quickly keeps them ahead. The more they grow as individuals, the more capable they become of creating, managing, and expanding wealth. Education never ends. It evolves. Winners treat opportunities with urgency. When they recognize a potential advantage, they act. They don't overthink or delay out of fear. They know that success rewards speed and decisiveness. While others hesitate, they move. And that momentum often creates additional opportunities. But their speed is not recklessness. It's built on preparation. Because they've studied and stayed informed, they can act quickly with confidence. This blend of readiness and boldness turns possibility into progress. Equally important is their approach to debt. They distinguish between productive and destructive debt. Destructive debt funds consumption. Productive debt funds growth. Winners use leverage carefully to acquire assets, expand businesses, or invest in income-producing ventures. They avoid debt that drains resources for short-term pleasure. This understanding of leverage allows them to scale faster while maintaining stability. Knowing when and how to borrow intelligently is one of the most powerful habits in financial success. Studying the habits of winners teaches one overarching truth. Money is not just earned, it is managed, multiplied and mastered through awareness and discipline. Each habit reinforces another. Knowledge leads to planning, planning leads to action, and action leads to independence. The person who studies and applies these principles steadily transforms their financial reality. Wealth is not random, it's built by those who make informed, consistent decisions over time. Those who wish to change their relationship with money must first change how they think about it. Study the patterns of those who've succeeded, not to copy them, but to understand the logic behind their choices. Observe how they act when markets fall, how they respond to opportunity, and how they protect their focus. Learn from their wins and their losses. Internalize their discipline and their calmness. Eventually, these lessons form a new standard of behavior. Money mastery is a mirror of self-mastery. When the mind becomes disciplined, the finances follow. The winners are not lucky, they are prepared, persistent, and patient. Studying them is not about worshipping wealth, it is about learning the structure of freedom. Their habits prove that success is built by design, not by chance. And when those habits become your own, abundance stops being a distant dream and becomes a natural result of how you live, think, and act every day. Number 4, think long-term, not instant rewards. Thinking long-term is one of the greatest differences between those who rise and those who remain stuck. The desire for instant rewards traps people in cycles of short-lived satisfaction and constant frustration. The discipline to delay gratification, however, builds empires. The world around us moves fast, and every message encourages immediate pleasure, quick results, fast money, overnight transformation. But reality operates differently. True success grows like a tree, not a spark. It needs time, consistency, and patience to take root. The mindset of thinking long-term is not just about waiting, it's about seeing beyond the present moment and understanding that real growth happens slowly but lasts far longer. When a person starts to think long-term, every decision gains weight. Each action, no matter how small, becomes an investment in the future. Those who seek instant results often abandon the process when they don't see immediate proof of progress. They start projects, lose interest, and move to something new before the first has time to grow. The long-term thinker sees what others don't, the value of unseen effort. They know that compounding takes time, whether it's in learning, building relationships, or growing wealth. They understand that steady progress outperforms bursts of inconsistent effort. The short-term mindset thrives on excitement. It chases trends, reacts emotionally, and avoids discipline. It trades future potential for temporary comfort. The long-term thinker, on the other hand, operates from vision. They make choices that may not feel rewarding today, but lead to greater stability, freedom, and satisfaction tomorrow. This mindset shapes how they handle money, relationships, business, and even health. They view each decision as a seed, not a transaction. Instead of asking, "What can I get now?" they ask, "What will this create over time?" That single question changes everything. Patience is not passive waiting, it's active faith. Long-term thinkers use patience to keep building, while results are invisible. They know the process will take time, and they commit fully anyway. They understand that progress is not always visible in the beginning. Like a seed buried underground, growth often happens quietly before it becomes visible. The person who gives up too early never gets to see the harvest. The habit of staying consistent without immediate proof separates those who succeed from those who start strong and quit early. One reason people struggle to think long-term is that the modern world rewards speed. Fast results are celebrated, while persistence is often overlooked. Social media, advertising, and digital culture condition the brain to expect instant gratification. When someone posts their success, others assume it happened overnight. What's rarely seen is the years of invisible work that built that success. To train the mind for long-term thinking, one must resist the pressure of appearances and focus on personal growth, not public validation. The true reward is progress, not attention. Long-term thinking builds emotional strength. It teaches endurance, patience, and clarity. When someone focuses only on immediate pleasure, they react to every obstacle emotionally. When they think long-term, challenges become temporary. Every failure is viewed as feedback, not defeat. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "How does this fit into my larger goal?" That perspective transforms frustration into understanding. It reduces stress and brings calm because the person knows they are building something that requires time. Financially, long-term thinking is the foundation of wealth creation. Those who think in years rather than moments make smarter choices with money. They invest instead of spend. They build assets instead of chasing trends. They understand that wealth grows through patience, not impulse. When others rush to appear rich, the long-term thinker quietly builds stability. Compound interest, both in money and in discipline, is only possible through time. The small sacrifices made today, saving, learning, investing, become the freedom and power of tomorrow. In relationships, the same principle applies. A short-term mindset looks for convenience, attention, or approval. A long-term mindset builds trust, respect, and depth. Strong relationships, whether personal or professional, take time to grow. They require communication, understanding, and shared goals. Thinking long-term means valuing connection over momentary emotion. It means making decisions that protect and strengthen relationships rather than seeking short bursts of validation. The person who values longevity over comfort creates bonds that endure change and challenge. Long-term thinkers also view personal development differently. They don't expect to master a skill in days or see instant transformation from one habit. They accept that real growth demands repetition. They learn to fall in love with the process rather than chase results. Each day of practice, each page of reading, each disciplined action adds up. Progress may be slow, but it's permanent. Over time, these consistent habits separate the excellent from the average. The long-term perspective allows a person to endure boredom, doubt, and fatigue, because they know every small step contributes to a larger goal. Another benefit of long-term thinking is clarity in decision-making. Short-term thinking often comes from emotion, fear, excitement, or impatience. Long-term thinking is guided by principle and purpose. When decisions are made with the future in mind, impulsive choices lose their power. The person begins to think before reacting, weighing consequences beyond the present moment. This mindset protects against regret. It prevents destructive choices made in anger, greed, or haste. The long-term thinker measures every decision by its alignment with vision rather than mood. One of the strongest habits of long-term thinkers is consistency. They don't depend on motivation or ideal conditions to take action. They work steadily through highs and lows. They understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity. Doing something small every day creates more progress than doing something big occasionally. This is how long-term results are built, not through inspiration, but through habit. The reward for consistency is momentum, and once momentum builds, progress becomes inevitable. The long-term mindset also creates resilience during setbacks. When the immediate outcome is all that matters, any failure feels final. But when the goal stretches years ahead, one disappointment feels small. A person thinking long-term can recover faster because they know every challenge is temporary. They understand that mistakes are not signs of defeat, but opportunities to adjust strategy. This perspective builds mental toughness. They don't panic when things go wrong because their eyes are fixed on the horizon, not the storm. Another strength of long-term thinkers is that they value learning more than comfort. They don't need to be right all the time. They need to grow. Every experience becomes a lesson that refines their judgment. They understand that each stage of progress requires new knowledge, so they keep evolving. Instead of chasing perfection, they focus on improvement. This commitment to continuous learning ensures they are always prepared for future challenges. The longer their view, the wiser their approach becomes. Long-term thinkers are not easily distracted. They know that the cost of distraction is delay. They protect their focus and energy from things that add no value to their mission. Every hour has meaning. Every decision has purpose. They don't waste time on meaningless drama, temporary trends, or shallow approval. Their discipline is not strictness, it's clarity. They know what matters, and they stay loyal to it. Over time, that focus compounds into mastery. Thinking long-term also changes how one defines success. It's no longer about reaching a destination quickly, but about building something that lasts. A short-term win can disappear overnight, but a long-term foundation stands firm for years. The long-term thinker builds systems that outlive effort, businesses that grow, skills that multiply, habits that sustain. Their reward is not just achievement, but stability. Success becomes not something they reach, but something they maintain. Adopting this mindset requires daily awareness. Every time the urge for instant results appears, it must be replaced with perspective. When progress feels slow, remind yourself that slowness is not failure, it's proof of real growth. Long-term thinking is not glamorous, but it is powerful. The most successful people in every field are those who mastered patience, focus, and consistency. They planted seeds when others were still looking for shortcuts, and they kept nurturing those seeds until the results became undeniable. Over time, long-term thinking transforms not just outcomes, but identity. The person becomes calmer, wiser, and more deliberate. They stop chasing everything that shines and start building what lasts. Their confidence grows not from quick wins, but from knowing they can endure the process. Each year adds depth, strength, and understanding. While others burn out chasing the next reward, they continue to grow steadily, quietly, and unshakably. The greatest gift of thinking long-term is peace. It removes the anxiety of constant comparison and the pressure to prove something immediately. It allows a person to enjoy the process of creation and to trust time as an ally. Every day becomes meaningful because it contributes to something bigger. When that mindset takes root, life begins to unfold with direction rather than chaos. Success, wealth, and wisdom become not sudden miracles but natural results of patience, vision, and unbreakable discipline. Number 5. Master emotional control over spending. Money is not only about numbers, it is deeply tied to emotions. Every spending decision reveals something about how we feel, not just what we need. Mastering emotional control over spending is about understanding those feelings and separating desire from necessity. People often think financial success comes from earning more, but the truth is that wealth begins with control. The ability to manage emotions before they control your wallet determines how fast or how far you can go. Emotional spending is one of the most common ways people sabotage their own growth. It gives temporary comfort, but long-term regret. Learning to master this part of yourself changes not only your finances, but your entire mindset. Most people don't realize how emotional their relationship with money actually is. They buy things not because they truly need them, but because it makes them feel a certain way: safe, admired, powerful, or worthy. These feelings drive purchases more than logic. Emotional spending often comes from stress, boredom, loneliness, or insecurity. A new gadget, outfit, or dinner can act like a quick escape from those emotions, but when the feeling fades, the regret sets in. To master emotional control, you must learn to pause between the urge and the action. That pause is where power lives. The moment you recognize the feeling behind the impulse, you gain control over it. People who build wealth think differently about money. They don't let emotions make their decisions. They use reason and long-term thinking. When they want to buy something, they ask questions like, does this bring value? Or will this still matter in a year? They don't buy to impress anyone. They buy to progress. Emotional control means not being easily moved by temptation, advertising, or social pressure. It means having clarity about what truly adds to your life and what only distracts you. Each dollar saved through discipline becomes a building block for future freedom. The first step toward emotional control is awareness. You can't change what you don't understand. Begin by noticing when and why you spend. Is it because you truly need something, or because you're trying to fill an emotional gap? Maybe you buy to reward yourself after a stressful day, or to feel included when others are spending. Once you see the pattern, you can start breaking it. Emotional triggers lose power once you shine light on them. When you stop reacting to emotion and start acting with intention, your spending begins to reflect your values instead of your moods. Controlling emotions around money also requires redefining what success looks like. Many people spend money to appear successful rather than to become successful. They use material possessions as proof of status, but the richest individuals understand that external appearance means little if it comes with debt and stress. Emotional maturity allows you to delay gratification, to say no now so you can say yes later to something that matters more. True wealth is quiet. It doesn't need to be displayed. It shows in peace of mind, not in branded clothes or flashy cars. When you master your emotions, you start valuing financial peace over public approval. Another part of emotional control is learning to differentiate between wants and needs. Emotional spending blurs this line. Advertising constantly plays on human emotions, making people feel that their worth depends on what they own. Every ad is designed to trigger feelings, desire, fear, or envy. But when you learn to think critically, you can see through those emotional traps. You realize that most of the things you think you need are simply marketed desires. Taking control means you no longer allow someone else to define what will make you happy. You take that power back by deciding for yourself what truly matters. One practical strategy to manage emotional spending is to build small financial rules for yourself. For example, commit to waiting 24 hours before making any non-essential purchase. That delay gives your logical mind time to catch up with your emotional impulse. Most of the time, the desire fades once the emotion passes. Another strategy is tracking your expenses, not as a punishment but as awareness. Seeing where your money goes creates accountability. It's not about restricting your freedom, it's about directing it. Each time you choose awareness over impulse, you strengthen your emotional discipline. Emotional control over spending also means accepting discomfort. Many people spend to avoid uncomfortable emotions, boredom, stress, sadness, or fear. But emotional strength comes from sitting with those feelings rather than escaping them. When you learn to face your emotions directly, you stop needing money to make you feel better. You develop emotional independence. That independence is what gives you financial power. You are no longer a slave to momentary comfort. You are the master of your choices. Emotional control is not about denying yourself joy. It's about creating freedom through intention. People who cannot control their emotions often live in cycles of regret. They feel good when buying, then guilty afterward. They try to compensate by earning more, but because the emotional pattern remains, the money keeps disappearing. Breaking that cycle requires internal change. You can't fix emotional spending by simply making more money. You fix it by changing how you think and feel about money itself. The goal is to replace emotional reaction with emotional intelligence. Learn to ask, "What am I feeling right now?" before you spend. That question alone can save you thousands. Emotional control over spending also connects to self-worth. Many people buy to feel valuable or to impress others. But self-worth should come from who you are, not what you own. When your value is internal, you don't need external validation through possessions. You become free from the pressure to prove anything. This inner confidence translates into smarter financial decisions because you're no longer trying to buy happiness. You're creating it through stability and purpose. When you know who you are, you stop trying to prove it with money. A powerful mindset shift happens when you start seeing money as energy rather than emotion. Every dollar you spend is energy directed towards something. When you spend emotionally, you scatter that energy without purpose. When you spend intentionally, you direct it toward things that add meaning or growth. Emotional mastery allows you to make money decisions from logic and vision instead of reaction. You stop being a consumer and start being a creator. You begin to think, "How can this money work for me?" instead of, "What can I buy with it right now?" Mastering emotional control doesn't mean living without enjoyment. It means finding balance. It's okay to reward yourself, but do it from choice, not impulse. Plan moments of joy that align with your financial goals instead of undermining them. When you buy something, do it consciously, knowing it fits your priorities. This kind of spending feels different. It brings satisfaction instead of guilt. Every conscious purchase reinforces your control and strengthens your relationship with money. Over time, emotional control becomes second nature. You start noticing how little you need to feel fulfilled. You realize that peace of mind is worth more than any luxury item. You begin saving and investing, not because you have to, but because it feels right. You start to enjoy seeing your money grow instead of watching it disappear. This shift from emotional reaction to rational action creates stability and confidence. You no longer live paycheck to paycheck. You live plan to plan. Financial discipline, built on emotional control, also improves other areas of life. When you can manage your impulses with money, you can manage them in health, work, and relationships. It trains your brain for patience, responsibility, and foresight. These qualities make you stronger, calmer, and more strategic. Emotional maturity creates a foundation for success because it keeps you from being ruled by temporary desires. It teaches you to think before acting, to reflect before reacting, and to plan before spending. The truth is, emotional control over spending is freedom disguised as discipline. It may feel restrictive at first, but it actually opens the door to independence. The less control emotions have over your wallet, the more control you have over your life. You stop chasing satisfaction and start building security. You begin to experience a calm confidence, knowing your choices are aligned with your goals. You no longer buy things to feel rich. You feel rich because you have control. In the end, Mastering emotional control over spending is about self-mastery. It's about becoming aware of your thoughts, your habits, and your triggers. It's about choosing intention over impulse and purpose over pleasure. Every time you resist emotional spending, you build the mindset of someone who creates wealth, not just someone who earns it. You build strength that cannot be shaken by trends or temptations. You grow into the kind of person who doesn't let money control them, but instead controls money with clarity, purpose, and wisdom. That is true financial power, and it begins within. Number 6. Turn problems into profit opportunities. Every person faces problems, but what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is how they respond to those challenges. Some people see problems as barriers, others see them as signals pointing toward hidden opportunities. The mindset of a winner, a millionaire thinker, is built on this ability to turn obstacles into openings. Every problem holds the seed of profit if you look deeply enough. The difference lies in perception. Where one person sees loss, another sees a lesson. Where most see inconvenience, a visionary sees innovation. That shift in perspective is the foundation of success. When things go wrong, most people focus on frustration. They complain, blame, or give up. But problems are not punishments. They are information. They reveal gaps, inefficiencies, and needs that the world has not yet met. Every major innovation or business began with someone noticing a problem and asking, "How can this be better?" Problems are signals from reality, showing you where something is broken or lacking. If you learn to view them without emotion, they become opportunities waiting to be developed. You begin to see that behind every inconvenience lies a potential solution that can bring value to others and profit to you. People who succeed in life train their minds to react differently to adversity. When they face a setback, they don't panic. They analyze, they look for patterns and possibilities. Instead of wasting energy on complaints, they redirect it toward creation. This is the essence of turning problems into profit opportunities. You stop resisting reality and start working with it. You accept what is, and then you ask how to improve it. You think in terms of solutions, not struggle. This mental shift builds resilience and creativity, two traits that define every self-made success story. Every problem you face can teach you something about the market, about people, or about yourself. If a task feels frustrating, it means there's inefficiency in the process. If customers are complaining about something, it means there's an unmet need. If people struggle with the same issue repeatedly, that's a sign of a gap waiting for a creative mind to fill it. Instead of wishing your challenges away, study them. Ask questions. Why does this exist? What causes it? How could it be solved faster, cheaper, or smarter? Those questions turn frustration into direction. It's important to remember that every great entrepreneur, innovator, or investor built their success on solving problems. The larger the problem they solved, the greater their reward. The world pays for solutions, not complaints. If you want to create wealth, start paying attention to the problems around you. Look for moments when people say, "I wish this was easier." Each of those sentences hides an opportunity. The ability to identify and solve those small but painful frustrations can build entire empires. You don't need to invent something new. You just need to improve something that already exists. Turning problems into profit requires emotional maturity as well. When faced with difficulty, most people react impulsively. They get discouraged or angry. But a calm and disciplined mind can turn chaos into clarity. Emotional control allows you to think logically, even in the middle of uncertainty. That's when new ideas emerge. When your emotions settle, your creativity wakes up. The mind cannot find solutions in panic, only in calm observation. Training yourself to stay grounded during tough moments gives you a huge advantage. It allows you to see patterns others miss because they're too busy reacting emotionally. Adopting this mindset doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is fine. It means facing reality with a builder's mentality. You acknowledge the problem fully, then you search for ways to use it. When something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself what this situation can teach you or how it could create a new opportunity. Many successful businesses were born out of failure. A plan goes wrong, a system breaks, a product fails, and in that failure, the founder discovers a new approach that works better. The key is to keep your attention on progress rather than frustration. Another powerful habit is to train yourself to observe problems from multiple angles. Don't just look at what went wrong. Look at why it went wrong and who else might be affected. Often when you understand a problem deeply, you discover other people face the same struggle. That's your signal that a market exists. You're not alone in your frustration, which means others would value a solution. This way of thinking transforms your mindset from consumer to creator. Instead of saying someone should fix this, you begin thinking, I can fix this. One reason people fail to turn problems into opportunities is fear. They fear risk, failure, or embarrassment. But every new idea carries risk, and every success story includes failure. The difference is that successful people see failure as data, not defeat. Each mistake reveals what doesn't work, guiding them toward what will. When you approach problems with curiosity instead of fear, you start learning faster than everyone else. That speed of learning becomes your competitive edge. Profit follows those who learn and adapt the fastest. To turn a problem into profit, you need both imagination and discipline. Imagination helps you see what could be, while discipline helps you build it. Some people have great ideas but never act. Others work hard but lack creative direction. Success lies in combining both. When you face a problem, visualize how the situation could look if it were solved. Then, take small, consistent actions toward that solution. Progress doesn't come from one big breakthrough. It comes from steady experimentation. Each step teaches you something new, until eventually you create a result that brings real value. Problems can also point you toward personal growth. They expose weaknesses you didn't know you had. Impatience, poor planning, or lack of focus. Instead of avoiding these lessons, embrace them. Self-improvement and financial improvement often happen together. When you become more disciplined, calm, and observant, you naturally spot opportunities faster. Challenges become training grounds for your mind. Each one shapes your thinking, builds endurance, and sharpens your awareness. By overcoming small problems daily, you prepare yourself to handle bigger opportunities in the future. Many people wait for ideal circumstances to take action. They believe they need more time, money, or confidence. But those who turn problems into profit act with what they have, right where they are. They don't wait for certainty, they create it through movement. Each step forward uncovers more possibilities. Action brings clarity. Even small efforts, testing an idea, helping others solve an issue, researching an unmet need, can lead to new paths. The key is to stay curious and consistent. Most opportunities are hidden in plain sight, disguised as everyday frustrations. Learning to turn problems into profit also means learning to listen. Pay attention to what people complain about, what slows them down, or what wastes their time. Each complaint is an opportunity in disguise. The world doesn't lack money, it lacks enough people willing to solve meaningful problems. When you focus on helping others save time, energy, or stress, money naturally flows toward you. Profit becomes the reward for creating real value. That's why the wealthiest people on earth are also some of the best problem solvers. They've built systems, services, or products that make life easier for millions. When you start viewing problems through this lens, your entire life changes. You stop fearing difficulty because you realize it's the doorway to progress. Every time something breaks, you gain a chance to rebuild it better. Every mistake becomes feedback. Every failure becomes data. You develop a quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you can adapt and turn it into something useful. That belief makes you unstoppable because it transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Over time, this mindset becomes your natural response to life. Instead of reacting to problems, you start anticipating them. You begin designing solutions before issues arise. That proactive mindset attracts trust, respect, and opportunities. People see you as someone who adds value, not just someone who avoids struggle. This is how leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs are born. Not through luck, but through perspective. They train themselves to see possibilities where others see pain. In the end, turning problems into profit is not just about business. It's about how you live. It's about meeting challenges with strength, calm, and creativity. When life throws difficulty your way, you have two choices: complain or create. One drains your energy, the other multiplies it. The habit of transforming problems into opportunities shapes your character, sharpens your mind, and builds your future. It's the difference between living reactively and living intentionally. The moment you start viewing every problem as a potential gift, you step into the mindset of true wealth, the kind that begins in thought, grows through action, and expands with every challenge you conquer. Number 7. Build assets, not flashy liabilities. Wealth is not about how much you earn or how much you show. It's about what you keep and what keeps paying you. The biggest difference between the rich and everyone else lies in how they think about money. They don't see money as something to spend. They see it as something to grow. They focus on building assets instead of collecting liabilities. While many people chase the appearance of success, true wealth builders focus on creating systems and possessions that generate income, increase in value, or contribute to long-term stability. Flashy things may attract attention, but assets build freedom. In a world driven by consumerism, it's easy to mistake liabilities for signs of success. A new car, designer clothes, or an expensive phone may create the illusion of achievement, but they often drain money rather than multiply it. Each of those things loses value the moment it's purchased. Assets, on the other hand, work silently in the background, adding to your wealth even while you sleep. They don't shine on the outside, but they build power on the inside. The mindset shift begins when you stop asking, "How can I look rich?" and start asking, "How can I stay rich?" That question separates the wealthy mindset from the struggling one. Assets can be anything that puts money into your pocket. Investments, real estate, stocks, intellectual property, businesses, or skills that generate income. Liabilities are the opposite. They take money out of your pocket through maintenance, payments, or depreciation. Many people think they own assets, when in truth they own disguised liabilities. A car, unless used for business, is usually a liability. A home, unless it generates rental income, is often not an asset, but an expense. Understanding this distinction changes how you handle every financial decision. It forces you to think long-term rather than emotionally. To build assets, you must first master patience. Real wealth takes time to grow, and it often requires delayed gratification. Buying something flashy gives instant satisfaction, but investing in an asset gives lasting reward. The challenge is that most people are conditioned to seek immediate pleasure. They crave validation through possessions because it feels rewarding now, even though it creates struggle later. Those who build assets learn to do the opposite. They sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term control. They would rather grow quiet wealth than chase loud approval. That discipline is what builds real financial security. Building assets begins with awareness. Before you can invest, you must understand where your money currently goes. Track every expense for a month and see how much of your income goes toward consumption rather than creation. It's often surprising how much disappears into things that bring no return. Once you have clarity, start redirecting even a small portion toward assets. You don't need a large amount to begin. Consistency matters more than size. The habit of investing regularly, even in small amounts, builds momentum. Over time, those small decisions compound into something significant. The next step is education. To build assets wisely, you must understand what you're investing in. Many people avoid investing because they fear losing money, but ignorance is a far greater risk than investment itself. Learn about different asset types, stocks, mutual funds, real estate, digital assets, or side businesses. Knowledge gives you confidence to make informed choices instead of emotional ones. Wealth builders are students first and investors second. They take time to understand how money moves, where opportunities lie, and how to protect what they create. The more you learn, the less you fear. It's also crucial to adopt a builder's mindset instead of a spender's mindset. When a spender earns money, they think of what they can buy. When a builder earns money, they think of what they can create. Every dollar becomes a tool, not a toy. This shift in perspective transforms your entire relationship with money. You stop chasing possessions that lose value and start collecting assets that grow value. It's not about living cheaply, it's about living intelligently. Every purchase should either serve your growth or sustain your peace. Anything else is a distraction. Many people get trapped in a cycle of upgrading their lifestyle instead of upgrading their assets. Each time they earn more, they spend more to maintain the appearance of success. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it destroys wealth quietly. The key is to reverse that pattern. Whenever your income increases, keep your expenses steady and redirect the difference into asset building. Let your money work harder than you do. Over time, the returns from those investments can fund the lifestyle you want without taking away from your savings. This approach creates lasting wealth rather than temporary comfort. To build assets, you also need to control your environment. Surround yourself with people who value growth over appearance. If your circle measures success by how much they spend, you'll feel pressure to keep up. But if your circle measures success by how much they invest, you'll feel inspired to improve. The conversations you have shape your mindset. Listen to those who talk about ideas, investments, and growth, not those who talk about brands, gossip, or comparison. The right environment pushes you to make smarter financial choices naturally. Discipline plays a central role in asset creation. Every time you resist buying something you don't need, you strengthen the muscle that builds wealth. Every time you invest instead of spending, you're teaching your money to serve you. Consistency is the secret. Even if you start small, saving a fixed amount monthly, investing in a learning course, or creating a side income stream, the habit compounds. Discipline doesn't just grow your bank balance, it transforms your character. You become someone who values control, patience, and foresight. Those traits spill over into every area of life. Assets don't only exist in material form. Some of the most powerful assets are invisible. Your skills, knowledge, and reputation can become lifelong income sources. When you invest in learning a high-demand skill, You create an asset that appreciates with time. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that building assets is only for the rich. In truth, it's how ordinary people become rich. The wealthy didn't start with abundance. They started with focus. They made decisions based on growth, not glamour. Another important aspect of building assets is understanding cash flow. Assets create positive cash flow. Money coming in regularly without direct effort. Liabilities create negative cash flow. Money going out to maintain something. The goal is to maximize inflow and minimize outflow. When your assets generate enough income to cover your expenses, you reach financial freedom. From that point, your time belongs to you. You can work because you want to, not because you have to. That is the ultimate reward of choosing assets over appearances. Flashy liabilities often give a quick thrill, but lead to long-term stress. Assets, in contrast, require patience up front, but give long-term ease. The car that turns heads today will lose its shine tomorrow. The investment that grows quietly today will fund your peace of mind for years. It's a trade between ego and freedom. You must decide which matters more. Real wealth is not about impressing others. It's about creating options for yourself. The less you spend trying to look successful, the more you can spend becoming successful. Building assets also demands emotional maturity. You must resist the urge to compare your progress with others. Social media fuels the illusion that everyone else is doing better. But most of what you see is performance, not reality. Focus on your path, your numbers, and your growth. Wealth is personal. It doesn't need to be loud. Each quiet decision to save, to invest, to learn, adds up. Those who stay consistent eventually outlast those who chase trends. Patience always outperforms impulsiveness in the long run. In the journey of wealth creation, assets are the silent soldiers that work behind the scenes. They don't brag, they don't seek validation, and they don't need attention. They simply grow. Each day they build momentum. Each month they gain value. The people who master this principle live with calm confidence. They know their money is working for them even when they rest. They live on purpose, not pressure. Ultimately, building assets instead of flashy liabilities is a choice between fleeting pleasure and lasting prosperity. It's a test of discipline, foresight, and self-control. Every purchase, every investment, every decision shapes your future. Choose to create rather than consume. Choose to grow rather than display. True wealth doesn't shout, it whispers through security, freedom, and peace. The life you dream of isn't built by showing off what you earn. It's built by multiplying what you keep. When you learn to prioritize assets over appearances, you no longer chase wealth, you become it. Number 8. Surround yourself with growth thinkers. The people around you play a massive role in shaping your mindset, your ambitions, and your potential. Whether you realize it or not, your environment constantly influences your thoughts and actions. If you spend time with people who think small, complain about circumstances, and avoid challenges, you'll eventually adopt the same habits. But if you choose to surround yourself with individuals who push boundaries, think big, and constantly work toward improvement, you'll start to expand your own vision. Growth thinkers don't just inspire, they elevate. They challenge you to question your limitations and push beyond what you thought was possible. The first step to building a circle of growth thinkers is awareness. You must first recognize how your current environment affects you. Listen carefully to the conversations you have daily. Are they centered on gossip, complaints, or fear? Or are they focused on progress, learning, and ideas? The tone of your circle reflects the direction of your life. You become what you consistently hear. If your daily dialogue is filled with negativity and doubt, your goals will shrink to match it. But if your surroundings are filled with people who talk about ideas, innovation and success, your mind naturally begins to stretch. Growth thinkers operate differently from the average person. They don't settle for comfort. They seek challenge. They view failure as part of the process, not a sign to stop. They read, learn, and ask questions. They value knowledge more than approval. When you spend time with such people, their mindset begins to influence your own behavior. You start to absorb their habits, their discipline, their curiosity, their way of seeing potential instead of problems. Slowly, your standards rise. What once felt like a big dream starts to feel normal, because you've adjusted your sense of possibility. To attract growth thinkers into your life, you must first become one. Like attracts like. If you want to be surrounded by driven, focused, and inspired people, you have to embody those traits yourself. You can't expect to connect with ambitious people if you constantly complain, avoid effort, or cling to excuses. Growth-minded people respect action, not words. They are drawn to those who are committed to progress, even if they're still learning. So focus on your own growth first. Develop your skills, read widely, stay curious, and stay consistent. Once you demonstrate progress, you'll naturally draw others who share that same energy. Your network is not just about friendship, it's about alignment. Every person in your circle either pushes you forward or pulls you back. This doesn't mean you need to cut people off harshly, but it does mean you need to prioritize where your time and energy go. Spend less time with people who drain your focus and more time with those who fuel it. A simple rule is this: if a conversation leaves you inspired, curious, or motivated, it's adding value. If it leaves you tired, defensive, or distracted, it's taking value away. Protect your energy like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. The best way to connect with growth thinkers is to enter environments that attract them. Attend workshops, seminars, book clubs, online communities, or entrepreneurial meetups. Engage in discussions where people share ideas, not complaints. Surrounding yourself with curious and ambitious minds forces you to think differently. It's impossible to stay stagnant when everyone around you is moving forward. These environments also offer opportunities for collaboration and mentorship. A single conversation with the right person can open a door you never knew existed. Growth thinkers value learning, so to connect with them, you must bring value to the table too. Instead of seeking what you can gain, focus on what you can give. Share knowledge, offer support, and show genuine interest in others' journeys. People appreciate authenticity. When you add value to others without expecting immediate returns, you build trust. Over time, these authentic connections evolve into meaningful relationships that benefit everyone involved. Collaboration becomes natural because you're all working toward growth, not competition. The difference between an average network and a growth network is accountability. Growth thinkers hold each other to higher standards. They remind you of your potential when you forget it. They challenge your excuses and question your limitations. They push you to think smarter and act faster. This accountability may feel uncomfortable at times, but it's exactly what creates transformation. When people around you expect excellence, you stop settling for average. That's why surrounding yourself with the right people can accelerate your personal and financial growth faster than any book or course ever could. It's also important to recognize that not everyone will understand your journey. When you start thinking bigger, you might face resistance from those who prefer comfort over growth. Some may mock your ambition or doubt your plans because your progress challenges their own complacency. Don't take it personally. It's not about you, it's about their own fear of change. Stay respectful, but protect your focus. Spend your energy building your future, not explaining it to those who can't see it yet. Over time, your results will speak louder than any explanation. Surrounding yourself with growth thinkers doesn't always mean physical proximity. In the digital age, your environment includes what you consume online. The podcasts you listen to, the videos you watch, and the books you read all shape your thinking. Make sure your digital diet aligns with your goals. Replace negative news and mindless entertainment with content that educates, motivates, and challenges you. Follow people who are doing what you aspire to do. Learn from their experiences, mistakes, and insights. The more you feed your mind with growth material, the more it starts to think in those terms automatically. A powerful trait of growth thinkers is their ability to turn challenges into learning opportunities. When things go wrong, they don't complain. They analyze, they look for the lesson, adjust, and try again. When you spend time with such people, you naturally start adopting that same resilience. Their attitude becomes contagious. You stop seeing setbacks as proof of failure and start seeing them as part of progress. This shift in perspective transforms how you handle life. Instead of giving up easily, you adapt faster, grow stronger, and stay committed longer. It's also worth understanding that growth thinkers don't just think about success in financial terms. They value personal development, health, mindset, and relationships. They aim for balance because they know that real wealth is multidimensional. When you surround yourself with such individuals, you start improving not only in your career, but in every area of your life. You learn how to manage time better, communicate more effectively, and maintain discipline across all aspects. Growth becomes a lifestyle, not a phase. Another major advantage of being around growth thinkers is exposure to new perspectives. They come from different backgrounds, industries, and experiences. Each person you meet has a story that can teach you something. When you're open-minded, you begin to see opportunities that others miss. You start noticing patterns, connections, and ideas that you wouldn't have seen alone. This diversity of thought expands your creativity and problem-solving ability. Great ideas are rarely born in isolation. They emerge from conversations that challenge your assumptions and broaden your thinking. As you build your growth circle, understand that not all connections will last forever. People evolve at different speeds. Some will continue growing alongside you, others may stop. That's natural. Don't force relationships that no longer align with your direction. Keep moving forward and remain open to meeting new people who match your current level of ambition. Growth is an ongoing process, and so is your network. The key is to maintain relationships that nurture progress rather than nostalgia. One often overlooked benefit of surrounding yourself with growth thinkers is the boost in self-belief. When you see others achieving big things, you start believing that you can too. Their success no longer feels distant. It becomes proof that effort works. You start visualizing yourself reaching higher goals because the people around you normalize achievement. This confidence pushes you to take bigger risks, apply for better opportunities, and trust your own capabilities more. The mindset of possibility replaces the mindset of fear. Remember that building a circle of growth thinkers isn't about finding perfect people. It's about finding those who are progressing. Everyone in a growth environment is learning, failing, and trying again. What connects them is not perfection, but persistence. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be willing to grow. The more you commit to improvement, the more your environment will evolve with you. Eventually, the impact of surrounding yourself with growth thinkers becomes visible in every part of your life. You'll notice that your decisions become sharper, your goals clearer, and your actions more consistent. You'll develop a stronger mindset that stays calm under pressure and optimistic in uncertainty. You'll start thinking in terms of opportunity, not limitation. And most importantly, you'll begin influencing others the same way your growth circle influenced you. That's the ultimate proof of transformation, when your presence helps others rise. Surrounding yourself with growth thinkers is not just a strategy for success, it's a strategy for evolution. It's how you protect your mindset, sharpen your vision, and multiply your potential. You rise faster when you walk with people who refuse to stay still. Choose your circle wisely, because your environment is either your greatest asset or your biggest limitation. When you decide to fill it with people who think big, act bold, and grow relentlessly, your own growth becomes inevitable. Number 9. Invest in learning before earning. The foundation of lasting success lies in prioritizing knowledge over immediate financial gain. Many people rush into earning believing that income alone will solve their problems and create freedom. But the truth is that money without understanding is fragile. Skills, insight, and experience compound over time in ways that money cannot. When you invest in learning before earning, you are setting yourself up to not only make more money, but to make it sustainably and wisely. Learning shapes your decisions, sharpens your instincts, and prepares you to navigate challenges that wealth alone cannot solve. Investing in learning first means recognizing that every moment spent acquiring knowledge is a step toward independence. It may feel like a delay when others are earning quickly, but that patience pays off exponentially. Those who focus solely on income often repeat mistakes that could have been avoided with proper education. Knowledge provides leverage. It gives you options, reduces risk, and accelerates your progress. Every hour you dedicate to understanding your craft, your market, and your opportunities becomes a foundation on which wealth can reliably grow. One of the most overlooked aspects of learning is the difference between shallow information and deep understanding. Reading headlines or following trends gives temporary insight, but studying principles, strategies, and systems produces lasting competence. When you focus on depth rather than speed, you develop a skill set that makes you indispensable. This is what separates temporary earners from those who create long-term financial stability. Learning equips you to spot opportunities, adapt to change, and make decisions others would miss. Learning also builds confidence. Many people hesitate to pursue opportunities because they feel unprepared or uncertain. Education removes that hesitation. When you know the principles behind what you do, you act with authority, you recognize risks, anticipate challenges, and identify leverage points. Confidence rooted in understanding allows you to seize opportunities without reckless impulse. Over time, this creates a cycle where knowledge fuels action, action produces results, and results encourage further learning. Investing in yourself doesn't always mean formal education. Real-world learning often comes from reading, observing, experimenting, and seeking mentorship. Books, podcasts, courses, and conversations with experienced individuals are all forms of investment that pay dividends. Each piece of knowledge you acquire enhances your ability to earn intelligently. Unlike a salary, this kind of investment appreciates with use. The more you apply what you learn, the more powerful it becomes. Learning compounds, just like money, and its returns multiply over time. Another aspect of learning before earning is understanding the value of patience. People want results immediately, but sustainable wealth rarely comes overnight. Those who rush to earn without preparation often end up wasting resources or making costly mistakes. Investing in learning first teaches you timing, strategy, and discipline. It allows you to enter opportunities with clarity rather than desperation. When you finally earn, you earn from a place of preparation and vision, not trial and error. This reduces stress, protects resources, and maximizes outcomes. Learning also reshapes your perception of money. Without education, many people see income as the end goal. With knowledge, you understand that money is a tool, not a destination. You learn to manage it, leverage it, and multiply it. You understand the systems that generate wealth and the behaviors that destroy it. This perspective prevents common financial mistakes, such as overspending, chasing trends, or relying solely on luck. Investing in knowledge first changes the way you relate to every dollar. Practical application of learning is just as important as acquiring it. Simply absorbing information without action has little value. Each concept you learn should be tested, applied, and refined. If you study a strategy, implement it. If you learn a principle, integrate it into your daily routine. Knowledge becomes power when it moves from theory into practice. This approach ensures that by the time you start earning, you are already equipped to handle challenges and optimize your gains efficiently. Mentorship is one of the most effective ways to accelerate learning. Finding someone who has already achieved what you aspire to accomplish allows you to shortcut years of trial and error. Learning from their successes and mistakes provides insights that cannot be gained from books alone. Observing their decisions, asking questions, and reflecting on their strategies gives you a blueprint for your own path. Investing time in these relationships often produces returns that far exceed initial effort or cost. Learning before earning also develops adaptability. The world is constantly changing, and those who rely solely on current income streams without expanding their knowledge are vulnerable. New technologies, market shifts, and economic fluctuations can disrupt unprepared individuals. Knowledge allows you to anticipate change and pivot quickly. Skills, insight, and strategic thinking create resilience. When your earning potential is built on understanding rather than chance, you are better equipped to navigate uncertainty and capitalize on emerging opportunities. An often overlooked benefit of investing in learning first is self-awareness. As you study, experiment, and engage with new ideas, you discover your strengths, weaknesses, and passions. This clarity guides you toward earning opportunities that align with your unique abilities. Instead of chasing arbitrary trends or following others blindly, you develop a path that fits your skills and vision. This alignment increases the likelihood of success, satisfaction, and long-term growth. Earning becomes a reflection of competence, not chance. Time invested in learning also builds discipline. Acquiring knowledge requires focus, consistency, and persistence. These habits naturally translate into financial behavior. People who commit to learning regularly develop patience, delayed gratification, and strategic thinking, qualities essential for building wealth. Discipline gained through learning strengthens your ability to manage money, make calculated investments, and avoid impulsive decisions. It transforms both your mind and your financial outcomes. Investing in learning first doesn't mean avoiding income entirely. It means prioritizing knowledge over short-term profit when making key decisions. Early in life, it may require modest living, extra study, or time spent in practice rather than instant revenue. Those who endure this phase wisely build a foundation that produces exponentially higher returns later. Wealth earned without preparation is fragile. Wealth earned after rigorous learning is sustainable. This mindset shift is what differentiates temporary success from lifelong financial stability. Another powerful aspect of learning first is that it fosters creativity and innovation. Knowledge equips you with tools to solve problems and identify gaps in the market. When you understand systems, processes, and principles, You can envision improvements and opportunities others overlook. Education transforms obstacles into challenges to overcome rather than threats to avoid. This ability to innovate increases your earning potential exponentially because you're no longer competing passively, you're creating value actively. Investing in learning before earning also enhances decision-making. People often lose money not because they lack income, but because they lack understanding. Education provides a framework for evaluating risks, calculating returns, and recognizing opportunities. Every financial choice becomes intentional rather than reactive. The more informed your decisions, the greater the likelihood of success. Knowledge protects you from impulsive mistakes that can undermine progress and erode wealth. Finally, investing in learning first cultivates confidence and independence. The more you know, the less you rely on luck, others' advice, or external validation. You can navigate opportunities with authority, assess risks accurately, and act decisively. This confidence attracts more opportunities, as people naturally trust those who demonstrate competence and insight. Knowledge not only prepares you to earn, it empowers you to create your own path, solve problems independently, and maximize every opportunity. In the end, prioritizing learning over immediate earning is a commitment to long-term growth, resilience, and mastery. It builds a foundation that money alone cannot provide. The hours spent studying, practicing, and observing compound over time, preparing you to earn intelligently, strategically, and sustainably. Wealth is not just about accumulation, it is about capability. When you invest in learning first, you equip yourself with the tools, perspective, and skills to convert knowledge into action, and action into lasting success. The path to true financial freedom begins not in your bank account, but in your mind. Number 10. Visualize success. Execute with consistency. Success begins first in the mind. Every achievement starts as a thought, a vision, a clear picture of what you want to create in reality. People who reach extraordinary heights see it before it exists. They imagine the possibilities, define their goals, and feel the outcome before taking action. Visualization is not daydreaming. It is a deliberate exercise in shaping your perception, aligning your focus, and programming your mind to recognize opportunity. The brain cannot always distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and reality. By visualizing success with detail and clarity, you prepare yourself to act decisively when the moment arrives. Consistent visualization creates a mental blueprint. The more often you imagine your objectives, the more ingrained they become in your subconscious. This clarity allows your mind to notice solutions and paths that others miss. When you picture yourself achieving a goal, whether it's financial independence, career mastery, or personal growth, you begin acting in ways that naturally lead toward that reality. Your choices, energy, and focus align with the picture you hold in your mind. Visualization turns abstract desires into concrete actions because the brain starts organizing resources around what it recognizes as possible. Visualization alone is not enough. It must be paired with consistent execution. Many people imagine success vividly, but fail to act with discipline. Consistency is the bridge between thought and reality. Daily effort, repeated actions, and incremental progress compound over time to produce extraordinary results. The smallest consistent action, repeated over months or years, creates momentum that no single large effort can match. Success is not built in isolated bursts, but in the accumulation of persistent, focused steps that move you closer to your vision. Consistency is not about perfection, it is about persistence. There will be days when motivation falters, obstacles arise, or results seem invisible. Yet, those who maintain consistent effort, regardless of circumstances, separate themselves from the majority. Action taken without pause strengthens habits, sharpens skills, and builds resilience. Momentum grows quietly, and eventually your consistent effort produces results that feel disproportionate to the input. This is the compounding effect of disciplined execution combined with clear visualization. A practical way to visualize success is to imagine every detail of the life you want to create. Picture the environment, the people, the emotions, and the outcomes. Imagine the steps you took to get there, the challenges you overcame, and the strategies you implemented. This mental rehearsal trains your brain to act with purpose. When your mind has already experienced success, real-world decisions become more confident and effective. Visualization also enhances problem-solving because you anticipate obstacles and prepare solutions in advance. Execution with consistency requires planning. Define small, actionable steps that move you toward your goals every day. Break larger objectives into manageable tasks and commit to completing them without fail. Each completed task is a victory, reinforcing your belief in your ability to achieve. Over time, these small actions accumulate into significant progress, transforming vision into reality. Discipline ensures that your imagination is not wasted, but converted into tangible results. Visualization also strengthens emotional resilience. When you vividly see success, you feel the emotions associated with achievement: pride, satisfaction, confidence. Experiencing these emotions in advance prepares you to handle real-life stress and uncertainty. Your mind becomes conditioned to respond with positivity rather than fear. By emotionally rehearsing success, you reduce self-doubt and increase determination. The more real your vision feels emotionally, the more natural your actions align with it. Consistency is built through routines and habits. Structure your day to include repeated actions that reinforce progress. Whether it's skill practice, learning, networking, or managing projects, embedding these actions into daily life eliminates reliance on fluctuating motivation. Habits are the foundation of consistent execution. When actions become automatic, your focus shifts to refinement and improvement rather than starting over each day. Routine ensures that effort compounds steadily and efficiently. Another key aspect is accountability. Sharing your vision with mentors, peers, or partners increases your likelihood of follow-through. External accountability strengthens internal commitment because someone else observes your progress. It also provides feedback and perspective, helping you refine your approach. When combined with personal visualization, accountability ensures that imagination is matched by action and ambition is grounded in measurable steps. Visualization and consistent execution also enhance focus. In a world filled with distractions, keeping your mind trained on a clear goal allows you to prioritize what truly matters. Every decision can be evaluated against your vision. Does this action bring me closer to my goal, or does it distract me? This clarity prevents wasted energy on unproductive tasks. When focus is paired with consistent execution, effort is not scattered, but concentrated, producing far greater results than sporadic bursts of work. Embracing this principle requires patience. Immediate results are rare. The most impactful outcomes take time to develop. Trust in the process, in the power of compounding effort, and in the alignment between vision and action. Each day's work may seem small, but persistence creates exponential growth. Over time, consistent execution turns once distant goals into tangible achievements, often surpassing expectations. Visualization also fuels creativity. By imagining success in vivid detail, your mind begins to explore innovative ways to reach it. You notice opportunities others overlook and generate solutions that feel natural. Combining this creative foresight with consistent action transforms abstract ideas into real-world results. Vision without action is wasted energy. Action without vision lacks direction. Together they create unstoppable momentum. A practical habit is to visualize daily and execute without fail. Begin each day reviewing your vision, imagining the success you want to achieve, and then committing to specific, actionable steps. Close the day by reflecting on what was accomplished and what can be improved tomorrow. This cycle of visualization, execution, and reflection ensures continual alignment with your goals. Your mind stays focused, your energy stays disciplined, and your results steadily grow. Consistency also builds confidence in your own abilities. Each completed action reinforces the belief that you are capable of achieving what you envision. Self-doubt diminishes when evidence of progress accumulates. Confidence attracts opportunity, encourages risk-taking, and sustains motivation through challenges. Visualization provides the mental map, and consistent execution provides the proof that you can navigate the terrain successfully. Finally, visualization and consistent execution together create a feedback loop. The clearer your vision, the more effectively you act. The more consistently you act, the more real your vision becomes. Each cycle strengthens both your mindset and your capability. Your imagination sharpens, your discipline deepens, and your results multiply. This is the ultimate formula for turning ambition into achievement, ideas into reality, and potential into lasting success. By practicing the combination of visualization and consistency, you develop a mindset that is resilient, focused, and proactive. You no longer wait for circumstances to dictate your progress. You define your own path. Each day becomes an opportunity to align thought with action, strategy with execution, and ambition with measurable results. Over time, this approach transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. Vision creates direction, and consistent execution transforms that direction into reality, producing the wealth, success, and fulfillment you imagine.